We arrived in Singapore in early October 2004 on our way home from Canada. The high-rise buildings and the constant flow of traffic viewed from our hotel window left us in no doubt that we were in a cosmopolitan city. Our first stop was the Raffles Hotel and Shopping Complex. Singapore is a very clean city and tourism and shopping is big business. Inside we discovered a large plaza covered by a glass roof supported on a space frame. Several floors of shops surrounded the plaza, the floor of which was lit by the diffused light coming through the roof. In one corner we were fascinated by a fountain which shot water from one hole to another with perfect accuracy. Another fountain also attracted our attention.
Leaving this building, we walked across the street and entered the courtyard of the old Raffles Hotel building with its rich green garden and spotlessly clean white architecture. The courtyard, with its quiet and peaceful surroundings away from the noise and hustle of the commerce outside, seemed to be the ideal place to relax and take in a cup of coffee or tea.
Our hotel, the Swiss Hotel Merchant Court, was close to the river near Clarke Quay, so what could be better than to take a ride on an old bumboat? The bridge across the river was attractively bordered with bougainvillea plants. Judy purchased the tickets, and so we set off for half an hour on the river, complete with a taped commentary of the area.
We soon realised that the Singapore River was crossed by a considerable number of bridges, even in the short distance we travelled down to Marina Bay.
Is Elgin Bridge, built around 1928 and named after Lord Elgin, the Governor General of India. You must have noticed by now that each bridge we passed has a unique architectural character. They are the
On our left, we passed the oldest government building in Singapore. Constructed in 1827 as a residence, it was never lived in and was later bought for government use. In 1965, it became Parliament House for independent Singapore.
foot of this massive cluster of skyscrapers, the edge of the city's financial center. Within this compact district, it's one of the region's largest concentrations. At 280 meters in height, it is one of the tallest buildings in Singapore. You can climb up later to the 36th floor of Your Cabinet, the last appointed governor of Singapore. It is also Singapore's only suspension bridge and remains as it was for the last century exclusively for pedestrians. 1910 and named after Sir John Anderson, then governor of the Straits Settlements, of which Singapore was the main port.
Singapore's latest venue is the Performing Arts Centre, with its spiky domes affectionately known as the durians, as it looks like that spiky and pungent fruit, highly esteemed for its flavour. The centre supports theatres, a library, a food hall, a gallery and an outdoor supporting stage for all kinds of activity. We spent a few minutes in Marina Bay with several other boats of tourists. Before returning past Merlion Park, Singapore's famous icon, having the head of a lion and the tail of a fish.
Next day, we paid a visit to the Singapore Botanic Gardens. The first botanical and experimental garden in Singapore was established in 1822, mainly to evaluate the cultivation of crops. Passing through Palm Court and Cascade Gardens, we wound our way through varieties of heliconia. Then we set out along Palm Valley Road with the rainforest on our left.
The present gardens were founded in 1859. Over the years, the gardens have spearheaded orchid breeding and become an important centre of research, as well as a fine botanical garden. An old heritage tree along the path is known as Tembusu and is a native to Singapore. The tree bears creamy, fragrant flowers which attract moths in the evening. Note the very large root growing above the ground. A while later, we entered the Orchid Plaza, a pleasantly shaded rest area, and the entrance to the National Orchid Garden. Judy purchased the tickets at the entrance pavilion, and we were soon wandering among the many varieties of orchids in this unique garden setting.
Back as far as 1859, orchids have been associated with the Singapore Botanic Gardens. The garden's orchid breeding program began in 1928, and the horticultural staff are dedicated to bringing out the finest of hybrids. The National Orchid Garden showcases the largest display of orchids in the world. Over 700 species and 2,000 hybrids can be found in the collection, and every year more hybrids are being added.
good job?
On our way to visit the Cool House, we passed Symphony Lake, noticing the Shore Foundation Symphony stage over to one side.
The Cool House contains a tropical forest of spectacular orchids and exotic palms and ferns. Pitcher plants attract insects, which are trapped on the slippery walls inside the plant and drown in the nectar. Rushing water, cool air and mist present in this section of the garden create an atmosphere of high elevation sites as in the tropics. Many orchids here are epiphytes, that is, they grow on other plants, although they are not parasites. The first rains bring down dust and nutriments which they catch and quickly absorb.
Leaving the Cool House, we continued our walk through part of the 3 hectares of continuous terraces, tropical foliage, and many varieties of orchids and water features. Against a backdrop of tropical foliage, the Tan Hoon Siang Mist House contained many rare orchids from the garden's collection. We found the time spent in these exotic gardens was very rewarding when we made our brief stopover in Singapore.